In this video, I will tell you everything you need to know about how to create systems and take action to actually achieve all of your New Year goals. Just before the beginning of a new year, I always get this huge surge of motivation to achieve all of my goals. I make a huge list of everything that I want to achieve, and I always think to myself, this year is gonna be different. But then by the time the third week of January comes around, I'm somehow back to my same old habits, and I never actually end up achieving what I said I would achieve. I'm back to going to bed at 3 a.m. I'm back to not going to the gym consistently again, and I'm somehow forgetting to read the first out of 20 books that I told myself I would finish that year. Why do we always go back to our old habits? I found out that it's because this was an execution problem and not so much of a planning problem. And this was the year that I finally figured out how to execute. I'm now able to wake up before 5 a.m. in the mornings. I can go to the gym 4 times a week, and I also meal prep every week. I'm not saying this to brag, I'm saying this to let you know that you can 100% achieve these goals that you have for yourself and be consistent with them. The first thing you need to do is to get really clear on exactly what you want. Visualize what your ideal self looks like by the end of the year. Ask yourself what you want your life to look like 1 year from now, 5 years from now, or even 10 years from now. Think about all the different areas in your life, your career, your relationships, your health, your knowledge. Do you want to be a new job? Do you want to have been accepted into a really good university? Do you want to be in a relationship? All of these aspects of your life, you need to get really clear on exactly what the ideal version looks like for you. I want you to make a list of everything that you want to achieve, and then just pick one thing. Pick one aspect of your life or the one goal that is the most important to you. Because if you just pick one thing, this allows you to be way more focused, and it can even let you achieve that goal way faster than if you were to spread your attention across all these different goals. Think about a flashlight versus a laser. A laser is much more concentrated, and since it's pointing at something specific, that makes it much more powerful than a diffused flashlight. And the laser uses the same, if not less, energy to get there. A lot of the time we're living like that dispersed light, scattered in every direction with so many distractions that we're not giving our full attention to the thing that's most important. So yeah, make that list of everything that you want to achieve, but then pick the one thing to really focus on, because when you narrow your focus, you'll be able to climb much higher, much faster, and with way less energy. What's the number one most important habit that you can implement that will be a gateway to a cascade of all your other habits? For me, that habit was waking up early. When I focused on this one thing and was able to do it consistently, that made it easier for me to implement my other habits. Because once I was able to make waking up early a habit, I didn't have to think about doing it as much anymore, and I was able to shift my attention to the next thing. And I'm not saying to just pick one thing and forget about all your other goals. I'm saying pick one thing, focus on doing that well first, and then once you're able to do that, then you can look on to the next thing. Because this way you're not so overwhelmed by so many things that you have to do either. Sometimes when we have too many things that we want to achieve, it can become so overwhelming that we end up just paralyzing ourselves and never actually doing any of them. Once you pick that one thing, you need to set process goals and not outcome goals. So an outcome goal is the result that you want to achieve. Process goal is the thing you need to do to achieve that result. So for example, if your outcome goal is to get straight A's, then your process goal needs to be to study every day. And if your outcome goal is to lose weight, then the process goal should be to make a healthy meal every day. If your outcome goal is to be fit, the process goal is to exercise for 30 minutes every day. The reason why you need to focus on your process goal and not your outcome goal is because you have control over your actions and not your results. Your results are created by your actions. Another really important reason to set process goals instead of outcome goals is that process goals are much easier to achieve. It's much easier to exercise for 30 minutes today than to finally be fit. If you only have the outcome goal to be fit, then this may take you years to achieve, or you may may never even achieve it if you have body dysmorphia. So you're not actually giving yourself a chance to feel that satisfaction until you achieve that result. Whereas when you have the process goal of exercising for 30 minutes every day, then every time you do that, you give your brain a dopamine hit. And every single time that you achieve your process goal, you need to praise yourself. And I know it may feel kind of strange to do this, but doing so actually lights up the reward pathway in your brain, which reinforces that behavior and makes you want to repeat it again in the future. And when you do this, you will let yourself feel that satisfaction frequently enough to keep you motivated. Now that you figured out what your process goal is, you need to find a way to fit that into your daily routine. Because while we plan for the future, we act in the day. To be truly effective, your daily activity must align with your long-term vision, strategies, and tactics. See, it all comes down to what you do on a daily and weekly basis. I used to feel like I never had the time to do anything that I wanted to do, and I found out that the reason why was because I was only looking at what I wanted to add into my schedule, when actually it's just as important to look at what you need to take away. We have the same number of hours each day, so if you don't take something out of your schedule, you're not going to be able to fit anything else in. You can't just expect yourself to do all of these extra things on top of what you already do now. Tomorrow, I want you to write down every single thing that you do at every hour of the day, and then analyze your routine and see what you can take out of it. Ask yourself what you're willing to sacrifice to make space for a new habit. Sometimes we spend so long doing something that we don't even realize it's eating up so much of our time. I could be spending the first 1 to 2 hours in bed just scrolling through social media and not even realize it, and then I'm wondering why I have such little time at the end of the day. And really, it's because of these mindless things that I do, which I still am guilty of till today. But the first step to getting out of that is to have the awareness of it. So for me, I really like watching YouTube videos and Netflix. So I knew that if I wanted to add these new habits into my life, such as going to the gym and meal prepping, I had to take these activities out. Now, I didn't want to completely remove it from my life. So what I did instead was I paired the good habits to the bad habits. So now when I go to the gym, I use that time to also watch YouTube videos. And when I'm meal prepping, I'm watching Netflix in the background. This can be so helpful because now going to the gym and meal prepping doesn't seem so bad anymore because I get to do the things I like at the same time. When you set the intention of giving up something that doesn't serve you, it makes it so much easier to make good decisions in your day-to-day life. Another example is that I had this goal of learning French. So what I do is that I would open up a French lesson on my language app every time that I'm having breakfast or dinner, because I know myself and I know that at the end of the day, if I'm in bed and my two options are learning French or going on YouTube, there's like a 2% chance that I'm gonna learn French. So that's why it can be so powerful to pair your new habits that you want to implement with your current habits that you already do. So the 3 things you need to do to create a system or daily routine that you can stay consistent in is to, number 1, create as much of a routine as possible. Since our brains crave routine, it's much easier to stay consistent when you know what to expect. I know this isn't always possible, especially if you have different commitments going on each week. If this is the case for you, then what you have to do is sit down and time block before the beginning of the week. You probably know what commitments you have going on for that week, so plan this in advance and try to fit your process goals into each day. The second thing that you have to do to create a system that works for you is to set process goals that you know you can be consistent in. So people can argue whether working out 3 times per week is better or working out 5 times per week is better for you. But in reality, the best number of times is the time that you are gonna stick with. If 3 times is a number for you to be consistent, then stick with that. Because if you tell yourself you have to go 5 times a week and you don't manage to do it, then you can end up feeling defeated motivated, and it will just make it easier for you to give up altogether. And the last thing that you have to do is to make it enjoyable. Otherwise, you're just gonna get burnt out and you're never gonna be able to stick with it. If you wanna cook more, for example, what can you do to make that process more enjoyable? For me, it was watching Netflix in the background. If you wanna study more, what can you do to make that process more enjoyable? Maybe it's to put on some instrumental music in the background, or maybe it's to give yourself some kind of reward or treat after you complete a study session.
It's like a reward.
There's no point in setting all of these goals if you're not going to be able to stick with it, because being able to stick with it is the most important thing if you want to see actual results. So what about the things that you can't necessarily make enjoyable, like waking up early in the morning, for example? How do you make that enjoyable? Well, there's a way to take action even when you don't feel like it. Ultimately, to achieve any goal, it all comes down to the actions that you take to get there. The difference between your ideal self and your current self is that your ideal self has managed to take all the actions that they need to get them to that point. So how do you take action even if you don't feel like it? We have to first understand why we don't take action. There are two main reasons why we don't take action. Number one, it's too easy. Number two, it's too overwhelming. When something is too easy, it's something that requires low effort. So something like doing your laundry, doing the dishes. Usually it's doing chores that feel very low effort, that it's almost like something that's beneath you. When something is low effort, you actually have lower energy to do it because you just feel like it's not even worth your time. So how do we take action on things that seem too easy or seem like they're beneath us? Well, there's really no easy way out to this. You have to change your mindset to become the type of person who will do these things even if they don't feel like it. So instead of having the mindset of, I'll just do it tomorrow, no, just do it now. Because if you say you're going to do it tomorrow, when tomorrow comes along, you're going to end up telling yourself the same thing, and it just never gets done. How do I know this? Because I've done it so many times. As soon as you realize there's something you need to do, like clean your room or do the dishes, just do it right there and then so you don't have to think about it. You declutter your mind so you're able to focus your attention on other things that are more important. The second reason why we don't take action is if something is too overwhelming. When something requires a high level of effort, you also get low energy. This can be studying for an exam, for example. It seems like such a big task that we end up not wanting to do it. Our brain is like trying to avoid feeling the pain and suffering from doing it, so we just end up like procrastinating and not studying until like the week before. What you want to do if something is too overwhelming is to break it down into really small tasks. If your goal is to be a straight A student and you know that you need to study every day, don't be like, oh, I need to study for 2 hours every day. Start off by saying, I just need to open my computer and read my notes for 5 minutes. That seems like a really doable task that it doesn't make you feel so overwhelmed that you end up not doing it. So for me, when my goal was to go to the gym 4 times a week, I broke that down into much smaller goals at first. So the first thing that I did was I just have to wake up early in the morning. The second thing was to just put my gym clothes on. The third thing was to just walk to the gym, literally just get my ass to the gym. Even if I don't decide to wear out and I want to come back home, that's fine. All I have to do is get myself there. That's what I was telling myself. But then I found that it reduced the resistance that I felt to getting that thing done. Just do 1% more each day, because the person who puts in 1% more effort every day for a year is gonna have much better results than the person who puts in a lot of effort very inconsistently. But the number one most important thing that you can do to help you achieve your goals is to change your identity. The reason why you haven't achieved your goals is because you haven't developed the identity of the type of person who would achieve those goals. Visualize your ideal self. What actions do they take? What habits do they have? What does their daily and weekly routine look like? The good news is you can change your identity to be that person at any time. And when you shift your identity, your actions naturally fall in line with it. You are under no obligation to be who you were 5 minutes ago. Just because you haven't done something that you wanted to do, don't tell yourself that you're a lazy person. Yeah, like sure, you didn't do it, but that doesn't inherently make you a lazy person. Even if that's objectively true, it comes down to how you perceive it. How you speak to yourself really matters, so don't reinforce the negative things because you will end up believing yourself if you repeat this enough times. And we can use this to our own advantage. Tell yourself positive things and you will believe them. I know it can feel like you're lying to yourself sometimes, but that's why I like to use affirmations that you can neither prove nor disprove. So I can say something like, I am becoming a better version of myself every single day. You're not saying I'm lazy, but you're also not saying I'm rich and I'm really wealthy and I'm super fit, because that can feel like you're lying to yourself sometimes, and that's why affirmations don't work for a lot of people. Start by focusing on who you want to become, not what you want to achieve. When you visualize yourself, don't just visualize your end goal. Visualize the entire process. Visualize your daily routine and affirm to yourself that you're the kind of person who does those things every day. Because in the beginning, it's far more important to cast small votes for your desired identity than to worry about a particular result. I know that it's hard to take action, but once you slowly shift your identity by doing visualization and affirmations, then it becomes way easier and much more natural to take the action you need to take to become the person that you want to be. You might not see a difference between today and tomorrow, or even today and a month from now, but once you do this over a long enough period of time, you will look back on yourself and not even recognize the person that you were. So that brings us to the end of this video. If you're still watching this, I know that you can achieve every single thing that you want to in life. I'm rooting for you. You got this, and I will see you in the next year. Bye.